Hi there, this is the Goalkeeping Podcast. I'm Paul Sherratt.
I'm Martin Brennan.
And we are joined once again by Scotty Shearer. So, I've got a great little topic that I thought about in the car on the way over, which is often where I think about my topics. And Scott, I'd love your take on this, because you were one of these, I think.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Let's keep going anywhere.
Is it better to be an emotional goalkeeper or not? I.e., maybe can you perform at a higher level if you show emotional, or should you be more stable? Or, you know, what's your take on it? Having been, as a lot of listeners will know, and certainly the Googly, you were on the emotional side of the scale.
I was indeed. That's a great topic. I think it's always going to be down to the personality of the goalkeeper. For instance, if a goalkeeper's quiet, you cannot make him a shouter. And if a goalkeeper is emotional and, waves his arms around, you do not want to change him to be relaxed, because it's just who they are. Does it mean that you'll get more? I don't know. For myself, a lot of the times I was shouting to keep my concentration, to keep my mind in the game.
Okay.
I used to tell this to young goalkeepers. I sometimes shouted stuff, nothing to do with the game. I'm going to have a pizza for dinner tonight. And my centre halves would be like, what? And I'm like, right, he's listening. But that's
helps you focus, help them focus.
Helped me stay in the game, made sure they were still in the game. And I used to shout the most random stuff.
Did he ever shout out, what are you ordering or anything like that?
I'll have pepperoni, thanks.
Straight away as well.
Yeah.
I'll have chicken wings.
I'm going to challenge you straight away.
Right.
So you're saying you can't make a non-shouter shout. So
Didn't say you can't.
Okay.
Says I don't think you would want to.
Okay, let's ask the coach here. So you will have coached kids, 7, 6, 7, 8 years old, quiet as a mouse.
Yeah.
My guess is you're encouraging them massively to be, maybe not asking what pizzas the defenders want, but you're going to be encouraging them to be way more vocal than that.
Yeah, I think especially on the camps, especially the residential camps, one of the biggest, the main part of the first sessions is to try and bring their personalities and characters out, but to try and inform them that communication is a massive part of the position. And like Scott says, that there is, so for example, Matt Ingram, who we both work with at Wickham, who's also another left footer, by the way, he was quite quiet, quite goalie. But we were trying to get him when he was on the pitch, to really be effective and try to make him into the best communicator he can be. But knowing it was a really awkward thing for him to do. Like, it never felt that natural for him. And it probably is now. He's played for many years. But I think with the young kids, it is something that I will focus even before basic handling. It's something I focus on straight away.
And I suppose I've been a bit naughty here, really, because we're not really talking about communication. We're sort of talking about emotion, aren't we?
Yeah.
So there is a subtle difference. But
of course there is.
If you were allowed a communicator, you were on the pathway to being a Scott Shearer.
I think we could name, 20 goalies that have been the players at the highest level. Like a Peter Cech for me, always. Like David Seaman, always come off really calm. Like, to the point where he actually looks bored in games. He was that good, he just looked bored. Then you got the other one, Peter Schmeichel, the complete opposite. So you could go... For me, there's pros and cons in both. But if I was to try and encourage, and I was trying to mould one of our last episodes, the robot goalie.
Yeah.
I think is
Robo-keeper.
is to try and have him, someone that's quite level-headed. So the highs are not going to be silly high and the lows are not going to be silly lows. So I would always try and get the goalie to have a nice heartbeat instead of that massive spikes up and down.
So again, would you coach that out of an emotional?
I would never coach. I'd never coach anything out
that makes a mistake. Oh, I judge, and is absolutely or does something amazing.
I'd never
going to say,
coach 'em
well,
out.
hang on a minute, you need to drop it down, or are you saying that's...
I would never coach it out of them, but what I would do is show them the experience that they've just gone through. That once they've made a save and they'd run up to the centre forward screaming and shouting, and that they just made a save and they didn't score. Then 10 minutes later, the striker's just scored against them. I would use them tools to go, look, could we just get to a little bit more of a level ground? We're not going too high, and we're not going too low. But Peter Schmeichel off the pitch was apparently the calmest man you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
But on the pitch, he was a lunatic.
Did you ever have coaches say to you, well, hang on a minute, Scott, you need to just calm this down a bit. This is...
No. Nobody ever said to me, calm down. Because, again...
I think we knew you couldn't calm down, though.
Well, I think as well...
part of you, isn't it?
The era that I grew up in football, the goalkeeper was sort of dominant figure. You had to be 6'3". You had to be loud.
You had to rule
the 18-yard box, and et cetera, et cetera. So it went for me, really went for me in my career. Yeah. Most of the managers that I worked for liked that I was that way.
All of them?
I said most. A few of them did not like me, full stop.
So was that the element that went against you?
I wouldn't say it went against me. I just think, you just sometimes don't get on with people, do you? You don't need to get on with everyone.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, I think most of them like that about me. But then I know of certain couple of goalkeepers that it's went against. So, for instance, there was a lad Richard O'Donnell, goalkeeper, really good goalkeeper. He moved to Wigan and he was quite emotional, Richard. Goal would go in, he'd let somebody know what they should have been doing. And the chairman apparently didn't like it, so he then moved on because of that. Because the chairman didn't like the energy it was given. So again, it could go for you, could go against you. But again, Richard's went on to have a fantastic career.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're, just because someone doesn't like you, that you're...
I suppose it also is related to the dynamics in the team. If you've got 11 screamers, that's probably not great. If because if everybody's emotional, it's a bit like from my side. I'm putting to... we're growing really rapidly as a business. We're trying to build the team in terms of members of staff, and I'm trying to make sure that everybody gels together. So in the same way, I don't want 11 shouters in the team. I suppose it's the same. It's the same thing, isn't it?
How the information's put across, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Okay,
I believe.
Yeah,
how it comes across to player.
But that comes from dressing room, doesn't it? Because again, going back to the Wickham days. Thinking back then, any one of you, I felt, could have said something in any way because your group was so strong as a unit. It didn't matter how it was said. You knew it was said to better the team, full stop. There's other dressing rooms have been in, and you're like, you got to be really careful how you're going to say that to him.
Yeah, I think that's another point. I mean, we could go all angles with this. But yeah, I think I don't think the way that I done it was the right way all the time. But I think if you're coming out and you're abusing people, swearing at them, whatever, of course you're not going to get a great reaction.
Yeah.
But if you're shouting, you're saying, and it's constructive, but let's be honest, if we talk like this and there's 8,000 people in a stadium, who's going to hear you? So again, I've got a great story about it. Sports psychiatrist that came into one of the clubs that I was at. He came up to me one day. I was watching training, and I was helping the defenders with their positioning for crosses. And he came up to me and he said, "This is late on in my career." He said, "Scott, you really know what you're talking about, don't you?" And I went, "Well, I've done it for 20 odd years or whatever, so I would like to think so, that I know something." And he went, every time I seen you in training, you just seemed angry all the time. And I went, explain that. And he went, well, you're just shouting at people. You know, it's basic instruction, but you're really shouting it. And I said to him, I went, all right. I said, have you ever played in front of 15,000 people screaming and shouting and had to get a message to someone? And he went, no. And I said, we should try it then. And then, you know, see how it goes across just talking. I says, because it won't work. I went, so I'll always train how I play or how I'd like to play. So I am loud.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, it's just funny. He said, because if I was the owner of a club, I think I would struggle to employ you because of it. And I said, well, it's just thankful you're not the owner of a club then. But again, this is the perception. Like, I remember doing a camp with Martin. One of his camps, he asked me to come down and speak to the lads or whatever. And it was, you were actually talking about communication. I'll never forget this. And none of them could really grasp what he was saying. And he said, Shears, go in. We'll do a defensive sort of situation. Speak to them how you would. And I've obviously done it. And they were like, Jesus, really? And I'm like, of course you need to do it. You need to get, and if you've got defenders in front of you, they will love you.
Yeah.
Love you. If the striker peels off their left shoulder and they've not seen it because they're watching the ball for 5 seconds, they're going to love you for telling them that their striker's pulled off them. You know, you're the only one that can see everything. So I believe if the instruction's right, then yeah, you can be emotional, but you can take it too far. And I know that because I've done it quite a lot.
I mean, let's look at the Premiership at the moment. You've got emotional keepers in there, the Ramsdales of the world. You've got the calmer, let's say less emotional. De Gea perhaps is less emotional. Lloris maybe, Mendy maybe.
De Gea is quite emotional.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll concede that. Yeah, okay. So I suppose the
different.
point is there's a mix, isn't there? That's. There's no, and if we're saying that as a domestic league is the highest level, even at that point,
Well, that might be something cultural though.
Yeah,
because you look at Pickford, Ramsdale. You know, you look how they are. You look at Alisson at Liverpool and Ederson, quite chilled.
I think with age though, you slowly start to calm down.
Well, the two of them are mid-20s, are they not?
No, as in, yeah, once you start to get older though, and you go into, like, you know, into your 30s, I think you do slowly start to chill a little bit more. I think if you're a 20-year-old playing in the Premier League or 22-year-old playing in the Premier League, you're high on emotion. And the supporters love it, don't they? I mean, supporters love Ramsdale because he runs up to the penalty takers, just put it the other day and hit the post, and he's screaming in their face.
yeah.
And I'm like, that's great, but with that high and that emotion, you got to be prepared that could come back and bite you eventually.
Which it must do. Again, it must be a point. Surely that I get the high and I get the adrenaline.
Yeah.
You can't maintain that for 90 minutes. So surely, and you'll know this, when you come off that, do you lose an element of concentration? Is there a point in time? Are you vulnerable for a point in time because you've had this massive high that
but look at the
you've
end
got
of
to
the day,
reset?
we're only human. You know, and when something incredibly good happens for you, sometimes it's really hard to control that emotion in a game. You make a big save. You know, it's you tell a goal scorer to chill out. We celebration after scoring an 89th minute winner. Tell him to calm down. Goalkeeper plucks one out the top corner in the 89th minute, and he's got to stay relaxed because maybe he might miss the cross next coming in. But it's difficult.
That's the beauty, though, isn't it, of this? Because that's the way that was you, wasn't it? I've still got a picture in my head with you. I don't know what it might have been at Rushden. It might have been at Rushden, and like the hands are clenched. You're screaming.
Yeah,
and it's a cheer. It's not you can see it's not communication. It's a proper cheer. But then, like a Lloris, for example, will just make the save, get up, and I strongly believe it comes with you slowly calm down a little bit more with age. But I agree with that. You might not have a high all year, so when you've got one, you want to enjoy it.
Enjoy it, yeah.
But I always think you've got to prepare if you are doing that. I see a lot of managers on the line, and they run up to the other manager, and they're in the dugout screaming and shouting. Yes, we've scored. And you think that's great. But in 20 minutes' time, if they score, be prepared that could be coming back.
Yeah.
And then when it does come back, guess what? They don't like it.
Of course.
So it's like
I think also I'm
it's
sort
got to
of
be level.
I'm thinking about, does it make a difference where you've played up and down the leagues? Are you if you have a propensity to be more emotional, are you more emotional in front of 50,000 fans than you are with
You must
one
be,
man
yeah.
and his dog? Because there's all this pent up energy
Yeah.
from the fans. One thing, are you more emotional if the game is more important? So again, it doesn't matter what level. If you're playing under 15s football and you're in a cup game,
Yeah.
you know, and you've just saved a pen or whatever. So I think there's those things as well, isn't it? There's lots of external factors.
You said something that I really agree with. You would never try to out-coach someone. So from a young age, you'd never out-coach anything and anyone, but you'd try and tailor it, I think.
Yeah.
So I think with that, if you can help yourself enjoy it, but don't take things too far, you know, hard thing to do because, like I said, we talk about people in football like they're a higher being, human beings at the end of the day. Yeah, they're just human beings.
Yeah.
They've got emotions. They've got other stuff going on in their lives that might be their escape. You know, and something goes well, it's euphoric, like I mentioned in a little while ago. But it is really euphoric when you do something, when you save a penalty. You can't explain it. You know, you can't explain it when you win a game that you shouldn't have won and you've got man of the match. You can't not celebrate. You can't.
But the higher up you go, I believe that the reason you've played the game, you've seen the difference from a League One goalie to a Championship goalie. There's not massive amounts of differences there.
No.
Not massive amounts. What I see a massive amount is the emotional side. I think the higher up you go, I think you can be a little bit more in control of that. You know, for example, like a Mark Schwarzer, if you walked in Monday morning, you didn't see the game Saturday, you ain't guessing whether he's played the best game, the worst game, man of the match. He's been horrendous. You would never guess. Never guess. So I think the higher up you go, I think you should have the ability a little bit more to be able to control and stay within that. You know, yes, enjoy it. I don't think at that level you should be running around the pitch after saving a penalty.
Yeah.
I don't. That's how I see it. If you're playing in a local park and you save a penalty, I think you should take your shirt off, swing it around your head and run around the pitch.
Why? What's the difference?
Because they're in a position that they've got access to everything they've got. And I know where you're going with this, and thanks, Rob. They've got everything on access, on tap. And the reason they're getting that financial gain is because they're able to deal with them situations and play in front of massive crowds. So a local park goalie can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
Well, if you did, why would he not be there? I'm throwing it back.
It doesn't matter what level you're playing it, is what I'm saying. It's still two human beings.
Of course.
And there's strong emotion and doing something really good. I think
I get that, but I get the argument because let's look at it. Let's look at it in the broader sphere of global athletes at the top of their sports. If they're they may be incredibly emotional. Have they learned to control those emotions, and by doing so, have they become a better athlete? So let's look at
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. I mean, I go back. I look at a Bjorn Borg. You could counter with the John McEnroe in that era because you'd have both in there. But you can look at lots of different sports and go, actually, my guess would be the vast majority of athletes at the top of their game, even if have learned to control the emotional, to turn it into a positive. So what your argument is, as you progress, as you're at a higher level, you don't run around the pitch swinging your shirt, because you kind of learned to control it. Maybe it's the fact that in my mind, well, of course I'm the best in the world. Of course I've pulled off that save. Why would I be jumping around? Because that's what I do, because I'm the best. Maybe it's that.
Once you win an FA Cup final, then I believe you take your shirt off and you swing it around your head. Because the finish line's there, isn't it? Once you win the Premier League, the finish line is there.
Listen, me saying that to you isn't me disagreeing with you. It's just saying why.
Because
But
there's got to be a
should-
reason.
But why should someone? I get everything you're saying,
Yeah.
but I don't understand why someone, just because they're at the Premier League, just because they're at Man United, why they should be able to control their emotions all the time.
No, I believe they should. I probably said the word should. Probably not. Shouldn't have said the word should. But then there's a difference in grades, isn't there, as well?
course, yeah.
And that's why I believe we've on our path we've met some unbelievable goalies. And you think, go on then, why are they not?
Look
why
at
have they
Tom
not
Heaton,
gone higher? Yeah, completely.
so relaxed.
So chilled, so chilled out. But some goalies you've seen in the lower leagues, you think, what's the reason they haven't gone? They kick it unbelievably. They catch it. They come for crosses. There's got to be something in there, you know. And I'm not saying it's just the emotional side, but there's that bit, that confusion bit, isn't there? Of
Yeah, but it could be an emotional thing where it causes them to be inconsistent.
and when I say emotional, it's for me, it's not just a case of like I'm not going to cheer when I make a save. It's all of it. It's like when I make a mistake, it's going to affect me, or it's not going to affect me, or all of this that's going on, not the physical stuff, all the stuff that's going on in their head. The reason why I believe they don't make that next step. That's how I.
It's sort of external
see
emotions
it.
and internal emotions, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Massively.
Completely.
And obviously the internal ones are the strongest ones.
We spoke about goalie just before coming on the podcast. We never mentioned who it is, but on the outside has got everything there to go and play at least championship.
Mm-hmm.
On the outside. But I know so much about this individual on the inside, you think it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I think when you look at it, going back to the real first question, you said there might be more relaxed at the top level. I think then you'll find it's probably a mix,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it's going to be. Because obviously we're talking about goalkeeping and being like Pickford, Ramsdale, like, you know, they're waving their arms and they're shouting and bawling, but every goalkeeper will be a good communicator at the top level. They have to be. They've got to communicate. So again, it just comes down to, firstly, I really believe it's personality. Culture might be a big difference as well.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, who they are, how they.
Do you think their backgrounds can play a massive part, can't it?
Massive? Yeah. I
Like
mean,
you were brought up in Glasgow, weren't you?
Yeah, and it's.
And the difference, obviously, from there's a goalie I know that was brought up in like Somerset. They're two different worlds, aren't they? Let's be honest, two different worlds completely.
Yeah.
So their upbringing, I think that it does mould you a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, mould you, doesn't it?
I agree with that. But yeah, going back to that point again of trying to get someone who's so emotional to come down.
Yeah.
I think it's just trying to coach them. That's the coach's job, I believe. To then, I think Martin said it. If they're going too far, take the positives from it and try and bring them back down to a level that, you know, they don't cross a line.
Okay. So advice then. So I'm listening to this podcast. I'm watching this on YouTube. I could be a 13, 14, 15-year-old keeper, an 18, 20. I could be 35. And I'm emotional. I'm absolutely buzzing, and I'm running around the pitch when I make a hell of a save. I'm crying in my whatever when I make a big. I'm massively up and down. What's the advice? What do I do? Is it me? Sorry, that's you, Paul Sherritt. You can't do anything about it. Or how do I? Or are we saying?
I would use it as a graph, right? I would use it as a graph. Show me on the graph what it looks like when you're low.
Okay.
Really, really low. Can you work on taking a little bit of being silly high, bringing that down a little bit to then being able to raise this one? Because I believe if you're someone that goes really, really high and you're running around, I also think you're that goalie that then when you make a mistake, you're struggling massively.
Yeah.
So can you?
So
work
you're
on bringing
actually.
it up
So
a bit,
you're
bring it
saying.
down?
Because the question was, is it okay to be an emotional as a keeper? You're saying, yeah, to a level, but you need to bring the highs lower and the lows higher. That's what you're saying.
But you look at, do you remember when David James went for a really small period in his career where he'd make a mistake from a cross.
His Calamity James
And then all of a
period.
sudden,
Yeah.
he's coming out like 18 and a half yards to take a cross. For me, that's like an emotional decision to go, well, I've messed up last time. I'm going to come and deal with the next one. You know, the guy was unbelievable goalie. But he just went for a small period. And you think, well, like you said earlier, it's happened. But, you know, if we can work on bringing that low a little bit up and bringing that high a little bit down, maybe he doesn't come for that next ball 18 yards out. Maybe he just leaves it and then settles himself down.
So you're saying that as a coach. Scotty earlier, he doesn't subscribe to that. He's had a successful career. He is what he is. He takes the lows with the highs, and he's performed at a high level.
Yeah.
So I guess we're saying, clearly there's no right or wrong answer here.
But if you look, if I think it works within the groups as well. So if you've got a young group that you're playing with, potentially they could be struggling with you.
Oh, they would be.
But they respect you so much, they're not going to challenge you.
No. And that's where I say I would have went too far at times. Know your audience as such.
Yeah, completely.
Whereas does it matter that you went too far? Did it do anything to you or your career?
Me. Well, obviously, it didn't matter to me, but
it did to your teammates.
But hindsight, obviously, is a beautiful thing to be able to look back at things and say, ooh. And I look back at a lot of it, not a lot of it, sorry. I look back at things and I think, if I could have tailored that a little bit more to that specific person, I might have got more out of them. Might have got a better response from them. I might have helped them a bit more. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just getting something off my chest. So, but again, I wouldn't change anything that I did.
But it's the crowd again, because you've got senior players around you. That works so well, didn't it?
Yeah.
McCracken's and who else was in there?
Of course, and it's
there was
easy
so
then
many in there
because they do it the same to me. I do it, and then it's mutual.
Yeah.
But when you've got maybe a 20-year-old centre half and it's his first season, maybe you need to talk to him a little bit differently. I had a classic when I joined Mansfield. I swear a lot. I'm Glaswegian. It's part and parcel of growing up in Glasgow. But I'd use a certain word a lot, right? Not going to say it here.
Clearly.
And it's a very normal word in Glasgow.
Yeah.
But I was coming in and saying it to people and like, morning and blah, and it was just a nothing. But again, I didn't read my audience because then one of the lads came out and he was like, you don't know me enough to say that to me and challenge me. And I was like, he's right.
Yeah.
And then I explained to him a bit about me and why I say it, and he understood it. 3 months later, he says to me, my mates are now telling me to stop saying that to them.
Yeah, he's taking it on board.
So but again, that was someone who did challenge me on it.
Yeah.
And at that age that I was at, I was like, all right, take my ego out of this here and listen to what he's saying. He's right. So if it's not good for him, then I need to sort of make him understand, or I need to change. Unfortunately, I can't change. So
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, I think it's a fascinating debate that could grow arms and legs and go a lot deeper than we've done. I'd love to hear your comments. So if you're watching this on YouTube, drop some comments. What do you think? Is it better to be an emotional keeper or not? Or not better? Should it be coached out of you, or should some of the parameters be changed slightly through coach, or should you be naturally emotional and be equally successful? So thanks for listening. That was the Goalkeeping Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the content. If you'd like to become a better goalkeeper, then check out developinggoalkeeping.com, where you'll find podcasts, tips, videos, and more.